Hello and welcome to the second Zoomcast of the Energy System Engineering for Seminars series. To kick off this series, we were joined by Mrs. Dana White, General Manager of Tennessee Valley Authority. This seminar titled Power Generation, Learning to Develop. The seminar will include Tennessee Valley Authority, the service they provide, the generation mix. Then we will know more about Mrs. Dana White and her leadership style.
Thank you, Ahmed, for this introduction. Let's talk more about TVA. TVA is a federally owned corporation and the major provider of electricity in the USA. TVA will provide electricity for 153 local power companies, serves around 10 million people in Tennessee, and a lot of six surrounding states like Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Georgia, North Carolina, and Virginia, as well as directly to 85 large industrial customers and federal installations. TVA portfolio is dynamic and adaptable in the face of changing demand and regulation. TVA has moved away from a traditional coal-based production and to cleaner from power generation, and today the power delivered is nearly 60% carbon free. TVA generation asset is a combination between fossil fuels and nuclear power plant and other renewables. It has already 5 fossil plants and 3 nuclear plants and 29 hydro plants, and around 17 natural gas plants, including simple cycle and combined cycle power plant. Now, TVA also acquired power from a variety of power producers and generally through power purchase agreement, which include renewable and non-renewable purchasing. We can now move to the next point. What is the TVA mission and the strategy, which will be elaborated by Ara.
Thank you, Mohammed, for introducing TVA and their current generation mix. So TVA has quite a unique history, which actually dates back all the way to 1916 as we were heading into World War I, as they helped with constructing dams and munitions. So as the United States headed into the Great Depression, areas in the Tennessee Valley were struggling a lot. So the TVA Act was signed by President Roosevelt as part of the New Deal, with 3 goals that included relief, recovery, and reform. So in an attempt to fix the economy and lift people out of the Depression, TVA was born. So one thing that's so critical for a utility's success for its employees, its customers, and the environment is a very strong commitment to a clear mission. So TVA celebrated their 90th year this year, and they're still committed to their mission, which is simply stated to serve the people. They also prioritize 3 pillars, which are energy, the environment, and economic development, as Dana White had mentioned. So in addition to a very interesting history and the statistics of TVA, Dana White went on to discuss multiple challenges that TVA must pivot and adapt to in order to navigate through them. One of the biggest obstacles for utility companies is environmental regulations. Another closely related obstacle is politics. With different parties, each presidential term comes different environmental laws and regulations. In addition to federal regulations, there are also maybe emerging environmental legislation that can differ in each state as well, that TVA is present in. Having worked in the environmental services department at a large utility, I've seen firsthand the amount of work that has to be done following new regulations and the strife that they can cause, even though they're usually put in place to do some good. And they're obviously very necessary to have some climate-friendly legislation. Public opinion and customer challenges are other just kind of ever-changing aspects that utilities have to anticipate and work with. So Dana White had mentioned the importance of cybersecurity, especially as the energy grid receives technological upgrades and has more, DERs and things. So a large portion of TVA's costs are spent on cybersecurity, because they have to be able to handle the new and innovative threats from cyber attacks. TVA also struggled with fuel supply issues when their coal suppliers were unable to meet their contractual agreement and supply for TVA's coal demand. Balancing supply and demand is an issue that TVA has to tackle themselves when it comes to ensuring reliable and affordable electricity for their customers too. And then also, she'd mentioned extreme weather events that have been a challenge, not just for TVA, but for many utility companies across the country, as the effects of global warming and extreme weather events, as they continue to happen with more frequency, utility companies are tasked with keeping the lights on for their customers regardless. So to address the root cause of the issue, however, TVA is working to decarbonize and limit their greenhouse gas emissions that are contributing to global warming. So I believe Alex will elaborate on TVA's decarbonization journey a bit more.
Thanks, Ava. TVA has set net zero in its sights, targeting the goal by 2050. Since 2005, TVA reduced its energy supply of coal from 57% to 14% in 2022. Although this has mostly been supplemented by natural gas, which grew from 7 to 31%, nuclear increased from 26% to 42% of the generation mix. I'd like to take a minute to highlight nuclear at TVA. As Mohammed mentioned, TVA has 3 nuclear sites. First of which is the Browns Ferry site, which was first opened in 1974 and generates about 20% of TVA's total power. There are 3 units on site licensed until 2033 to 2036. Now, if you're anything like me, you're wondering what they're going to do when 20% of their energy capacity expires in the middle of their path to net zero. Like many nuclear plants in the United States, they're looking for licensing of an additional 20 years, which will get them, around that 2050 mark. TVA's second nuclear site is the Sequoia nuclear plant, which was commissioned in 1981 and is licensed until 2040. They're also looking to extend the operation of this site. The third site, Watts Bar, had 1 unit commissioned in 1996 and another unit commissioned in 2016. The second unit was the first new nuclear generation in the 21st century in the United States and brought 1,150 megawatts of clean power generation online. This additional unit and some power uprating projects at the Browns Ferry site made for the increase in nuclear generation. Overall, TVA's nuclear sector employs 4,500 people and generates 8,275 megawatts of electricity, which is enough to power 4.5 million homes. So, where do renewables come into the mix? Well, wind and solar have increased from 0 to 4% of generating capacity between 2005 to 2022. This number will continue to grow to 13%, accompanied by more coal coming offline by 2030. Currently, long-term energy storage is not prevalent outside of pumped hydro and a few compressed air facilities. As long-term energy storage becomes more prevalent, I believe we will see TVA's faith in renewable energy increase. After all, their territory is well marked for solar. During a Q&A session, Dana explained how TVA adds solar capacity to the grid. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as putting up panels. As we all know, solar only generates during the day. Additionally, it generates less energy during the winter months due to shorter days and more inclement weather. For this reason, TVA backs up all solar capacity with standard generating capacity. So, as solar capacity expands, so does natural gas. I'm hopeful that long-term storage and careful monitoring of energy reserves will eliminate the need for this backup generation. If we shift excess summer generation to winter consumption, that will be a big win for solar going forward. Currently, that's a big if. For this reason, TVA is taking a less widely accepted approach to tackling further decarbonization. Next, Mohammed is going to touch on their interests in small modular nuclear reactors.
Thank you, Alex. Clinic Clever nuclear plant is a potential for TVA. It's a project not started yet or not decided to be started. But they have partnered with Ontario Power and Hitachi around the $250 million project to bring Generation 3 small modular reactor to Ontario. Tennessee. This small modular will be the first kind, but hopefully not the last. TVA is partner with IntelliPower and Hitachi with the goal of standardization design of small modular reactors. A standard design will be allow government and the Nuclear Regulation Commission to make faster informed decisions with regard to permitting, which cuts down on construction time. A standard design will lower the cost of production from small modular reactors, which can be manufacturing instead of built on site. Additionally, TVA hope to have engineers certified to operate multiple sites. This will be dramatically reduce operating cost, of which around 50% compared to labor of nuclear industry. And in next point, Mike will discuss about leadership and the winner of Dynamo.
Thanks, Mohammed. So Ms. White finished up her seminar talking about leadership through her experiences in the workforce. She joined the Tennessee Valley Authority back in 2005 after working at Southern Nuclear for a number of years. And she held many leadership positions while she was at both the companies. Currently at TVA, she's the general manager, and at Southern Nuclear, she was the director of safety, putting regulations for thousands and thousands of workers. When she first started in the workforce, she believed that the way that she was going to measure her success is based on her role and position in the company, working her way up the corporate ladder. And before the seminar, I believe that was the way you would measure success too. I mean, it makes sense, better pay, more responsibilities, and more respect in some cases. So this can be a measure of success. However, Ms. White, looking back now, believes that the best way to measure your success as a leader is by seeing how well you connect to people that you're leading. One of the biggest barriers to becoming a successful leader is based on how you would self-protect yourself in uncomfortable situations. A leader must be able to manage the emotions of the people working under them during high periods of stress, uncertainty, and risk. They must have the courage to have the hard conversations that other people would not like to do. And doing those practices, the best leaders maintain strong, trustful relationships, which is essential for team cooperation. The trust that's born is out of paying attention and listening to your team members, along with little gestures of genuine care. I'm just starting my job search now, and I found that the people that are happiest at where they work at have these current types of relationships built on trust and just genuine care for each other. And from the people I've been talking to, they've been staying at the same company for decades just for that reason, just for the relationships they built there at the company. So I'll pass it back to Ahmed now.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you all. Just in your career, remember this. Don't just take any job. Find a leader who can help you grow. Your job is more than a paycheck. Your leader shapes your growth and success. A great leader mentors, inspires, and supports you. Before you say yes, consider the leader. Do they inspire you? Do they care about your growth? Your career success depends on your leader. Choose wisely. Thank you.